G'day and welcome along to Willow Talk. Once again, Mark Howard and Brad Haddin here with you. Had some fantastic games of cricket last night. I tell you, this tournament, we haven't seen the so-called big guns out there yet, but by gee, it's providing some entertainment, mate. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Howie. I've really enjoyed this stage of the World Cup, the qualifying. I just like the passion that the associate nations are playing with. They're playing down in front of small crowds, but this means a lot to them to qualify for the big dance. And Ireland, Scotland was a perfect example of that.
Oh, incredible game of cricket. So the Scots piled on 5 for 176. I was fortunate enough to be here. Looked plenty when Ireland were 4 for 61 after 9.1. Then your man Curtis Campher came along with Georgie Decrell, put on 119. Curtis Campher, 72 off 32. It's one of the great T20 knocks. Talking to various people around here that have seen a lot of associate cricket, they said that is as good as you will see. And it was a stunning win by Ireland and kept their series alive because they went 0-2 down there and all sorts.
Yeah, it was an astonishing innings. But the most important thing to me was it was under pressure. It had to be played. They were 4 for 61. Ireland were out of the tournament if they didn't do that. But they've done this a couple of times at World Cups. They save their best for the big moments. They got a great following everywhere they go. They bring the supporters. They enjoy a good time. And Curtis, how good was he in that moment to get 72 off 32 balls, turn the game? What interests me, Howie, is when you interviewed him after the game, how emotional he was.
Yeah, he was really emotional, and I obviously didn't know where the emotion was coming from because he took probably 2 or 3 minutes, Hads, where he was just sunk down on his knees, and I thought it was a lot to do with the realisation of what he'd just done, but as you're about to hear, there was a bit more involved for Curtis Campher. Curtis Campher, congratulations on the innings, congratulations on the win. We'll get to the innings, but the emotion of just seeing you to the side, it's obviously a very emotional moment. Congratulations, mate. Well played. Where's the emotion come from?
Yeah, I know. Just had a bit of bad news in the last week or two, so yeah, just my family.
I'm sorry to hear about the bad news. Tell us what you were thinking when you went out there in the middle. You're in a fair bit of bother at that stage.
Yeah, we just had a clear game plan, just try to take the game deep there and just go with my options pretty soon, and luckily it was my day.
Well done to Curtis Campher, absolutely outstanding. Hads only a small crowd, as you said, but so passionate. And I think it really hit me last night. You do a lot of cricket tournaments, but never having called a World Cup before, the importance on every game for every team. It's not, we lost tonight, we'll get them next night. It's do or die for these sides, which is the great thing about World Cup events.
Yeah, this is what you play for. These are the big moments you train. These are the ones why you get up early, you do the extra net sessions. But it just goes to show there that the power of an athlete's mind and how much it means to every individual. And everyone's got their own unique story. And be able to put whatever is going on at home to the side and go and perform under pressure, get your team... Well, keep your team alive in this competition. It's just a really special moment. They'll go and enjoy the occasion now, the Island boys, as they always do. But it just shows the power of the mind of some of these athletes.
Talking about enjoying it, and we'll move on with the show shortly, but I met a chap who knows another chap, who was telling me about a chap who is playing in this World Cup, not necessarily from the teams in Hobart, that enjoys celebrating, Hads, because there's gaps between games, and this chap who knows a chap whose chap is playing in the tournament goes out the night of a game in his running gear and full tracksuit so he can stay out all night, walk into the hotel in the morning and say, boys, I've just come back from a run, which is one of the more extraordinary things I've heard.
Pick him straight away. For that much preparation to go and have a cold beer and get that much preparation and thought that goes into that occasion. The chap that you know that knows the other chap that is good mates with the bloke before, he's definitely an Island cricketer. He's, mate, those guys I've seen in a number of World Cups. So, mate, they deliver on the field. They play hard cricket. They play with a smile on their face. They've got their own unique style. But once the game's done, mate, it doesn't stop for the Irish. And then if you're rooming anywhere near an open bar in a hotel trying to get ready for a finalist semi, there's only a couple of voices you hear, and that's normally the Island boys singing long and hard into the night.
Well, I'm not confirming whether it was or was not an Irish cricketer. Hey, we'll get to the West Indies result a little bit later in the show. But some news today. You're more across it than I because I was the news yesterday that broke. I was working all day. But Josh Inglis, did he hurt himself on the golf course? Is that what happened? And how bad is it?
Yeah, he has. Josh Inglis it's a second keeper. Actually, Johnny Bairstow, he had a horrible leg injury leading into the World Cup. He broke his leg on the golf course, and now Josh Inglis has injured his hand. It sounds like he toughed to drive, and all we've got at the moment is he's in some doubt for the World Cup, which makes a really interesting selection point of view, Howie. Do Australia roll the dice and go in with no keeper and bring Cameron Green into the squad? Or do they go for backup, look at someone like Ben McDermott who can cover the top order, middle order? Or do you go to an experience like Alex Carey, who's played World Cups before? He won't get overawed by the situation, but it's a bizarre thing. And this is also the beauty of a World Cup. There's always so much theatre around it, Howie. Things don't go smooth. You've got different curveballs all the way through. And this is an interesting one. Are we going to see Cameron Green like-for-like replacement with Josh Inglis?
How many fingers have you busted in your career as a wicketkeeper?
All of them, Howie.
Have you really?
I've had
hold them up. Hold them up for me.
Yeah, they're not pretty.
Oh, gee, there's curls and bumps and tweaks. So you've broken every finger? Yeah,
at some stage I've broken... most fingers. One of the most bizarre ones I've ever had was I remember playing the season with a broken thumb. And I went into a game against Victoria. We got sent in, and I got hit again on a finger, on the index finger on my right hand. So I had two broken hands. So that night I couldn't sleep, and the chap that the chap that I know, and I think it's the chap that you're talking about.
Yeah.
He was with me. I went down to the hotel bar, and I just couldn't sleep, and both hands were throbbing. Had a cast on one, and I was about 3 beers in, just trying to get some sort of pain away. And Steve Rickson, the coach, walked in, and Stumper had a really, really short fuse. He's a bit better with the wicket keepers, and this was day one of the game, and I'm there, three beers in by myself. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Mate, both hands, I can't sleep. They're throbbing. I'm not into taking a sleeping tablet." He said, "I'll have 2, thanks." And he sat there with me. We had a couple of beers. He knew what I was going through. But I've had my hands weren't built to be a wicketkeeper.
All right, Hadsy, up next, we'll talk about the West Indies and their performance. I'll take you behind the scenes in what happens in World Cup commentary, and we'll preview both games from today. You're listening to Willow Talk. Well, Hads, I spoke to you yesterday that I was making my World Cup debut. I think I got through okay yesterday, but it was an interesting experience, and I was well looked after by a wonderful crew, and I loved every moment of it, but nobody has presented me a cap as yet, so I was a bit disappointed in that, to be fair.
Howie, I was listening to you, and I'll compliment you on your debut. I thought you were outstanding, but how was it? How was your commentary team? Who'd you get on with? Who looked at you differently? Did you fit in?
Well, it's a great question. I got off to a bit of a slow start because I went out for a jog this morning, and then I got a box of gear delivered 10 minutes before I had to leave. So I jumped out of the shower, and I'm a size, I like to say 32 Hads, but probably 30. And I whipped on the strides, and they were a size 36. So it's a pretty slow start. Like my pants could have fit Carlos Brathwaite, who I was commentating with. So it wasn't a good start. But I went in the car to the ground at Ian Bishop, the only one of the commentators I knew, and he was very complimentary. He said, "I'll keep an eye out for you." But Carlos Brathwaite, Samuel Badri, 2-time winner, they're absolutely fantastic. And Pommy and Mbangwa, who I've long been a fan of, so they really looked after me. It's different because you're broadcasting to the world. You get a lot more counts in your ears, Hads, because in Africa they might be taking a 15-second break. In Europe it might be a 30-second break, and the Indians take 40-second breaks, so they take longer breaks. So there's a lot of counting in your ear happening, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. But I was up late. Studying the Scottish and Irish teams in particular. But I've been really enjoying the experience, and the team here have been brilliant, mate. Really, really good.
I've seen you did a couple of good things. I've seen you call the wicket from the sideline, and I've seen you also encourage Braithwaite to get a mullet, and he shut that down pretty quick. And I just think you might need to remind him tomorrow where he is. Like, he can win the Australian public over if he gets a mullet.
Well, he didn't know what a mullet was, and I was trying to point it out to him. And then you think, gee, I'm broadcasting to the world here, so you need to explain to the whole world. But they do. That's the other thing they do. They've just brought it in for this World Cup, where for one stint in the 20 overs, you go down and commentate from the boundary. So you're sitting there in front of a monitor, but I was right next to the Zimbabwean crew when they started taking wicket. I think I was a good omen for the Zimbabweans. When I was down there, they picked up 3 for and really got a wriggle on. But the West Indies did really well to come back. Rodman Power, by gee, hits a long ball. Long ball, that man.
One thing I find interesting, how you said you got a new thing of clothes, your box arrived, your clothes are on. That would have thrown me. As a neat freak, I'm gone for the rest of the day. So how do you come back for that? You got a superstition you get through? Do you eat the same thing? Do you go straight the seat? Or, mate, as soon as I get the wrong gear, if I haven't got the right gear, if I've got it the night before, I'm out. I'm gone that whole day.
Well, I don't know about the right technique, but I went down to the hotel reception and asked for, one of the old Bulldog clips, and I whacked it on the back of my pants. I whacked it on the back of my pants, and thankfully it was a reasonably long jacket, so no one could see it. But great fun. Talking about the West Indies, they looked in big trouble, Hads. They really did look in trouble. They were losing wickets galore. Rodman Power, the man out of Jamaica, who is a fantastic player, hit one of the biggest sixes I've seen here in Hobart. Eventually, they got the job done over Zimbabwe. And the other standout, mate, that Alzari Joseph, he has got serious wheels. And you see all of a sudden a bloke bowling at 148, the difference it makes to a game of cricket.
Yeah, it does. We got a little bit of a look at Joseph during the couple of games against Australia, and he definitely got people to sit to the front of their seats. He's got raw pace. He's young. He bowls that aggressive line where he's trying to intimidate the batsman. Mate, the West Indies did good. They were in a lot of trouble. They fought back with their bat. What I worry a bit with their batting is they look like they're playing scared. West Indies play an unbelievable power game. They don't have much batsmanship in the middle, and it looks like they're too scared to play their shots. So I think the hardest thing for them is going to get through this stage, and if they do get to the World Cup stage, we'll see some better cricket. But they fought back well. They were aggressive with the ball, and that's the way they have to play. They've got to be aggressive all the way around. Howie, I've just got one more for you. Did I see you at the post-match presentation?
I was hoping you wouldn't have picked this up. So after the first game, you interview the man of the match, and he has the trophy. I didn't do the last 8 overs of that West Indies game, and the producer said the ICC wants one of the commentators to hand over the man of the match, the player of the match trophy. So we've got Carlos Brathwaite, he's won it. We got Samuel Badri, he's won it a couple of times. We've got Ian Bishop, a ferocious man. Pommy Mbangwa, a legend of the game, but they were all busy on air, so I didn't have to do anything at the end. So poor old mate gets player of the match, and I'm just standing there like Tony Barber handing over the trophy. One of the more embarrassing, and he's looking at me as if to say, who's this turkey that's giving me the trophy? So I hope that one wasn't seen on the full world broadcast, because it was... he just looked at me as if to say, well, who are you and why are you giving me the trophy? And I didn't even give him any money either, so it was a touch embarrassing, to be fair. But this is what happens on the international broadcast. We'll take a break here, Adzi, I think, and up next we need to talk about the 2 games for today. You're listening to Willow Talk. Another couple of fantastic games coming your way today in the World Cup. So the Dutch... they've had 2 wins. They sit on 4 points. This is really important. They take on Sri Lanka, who are 1-1. They're on 2 points, but net run rate has them in 3rd. But, by gee, they've lost Chamira and they've lost Madishan as well, so they're going to struggle to get through their power play overs. So they need to win Sri Lanka, but they're missing bowlers, and they'll be coming up against the great Timmy Pringle. So good game of cricket, this one.
Yeah, it will be a good game at cricket, and we're all over Timmy Pringle, but I think Sri Lanka will be way too strong. I think after that first game, they got a bit of a shock. They regrouped, and I think you're going to see a really clinical display this time from the Sri Lankans.
Keep an eye for Hasaranga as well, the wrist spinner. We saw him in Australia last summer. 10 matches in the World Cup, had 20 wickets at 9.55. He's the life beat. He's the heartbeat. He's the lifeblood of this team for Sri Lanka, and he's such a positive character. And he bowls quick. Like, you think, why don't they come down the wicket to him? And you've played out in the middle, I watched them from side on, and you think, he's bowling at 94 kilometres an hour. So they're really quick through the air, these guys, too.
Yeah, he's actually another form of Rashid Khani. He bowls quick. He doesn't have a big leggy, but he's got a good wrong, and he makes you make a lot of decisions from the stump. And another bloke I'd like to talk about is Theek Sharna. When they bowl together, he's one of the best exponents of the Doosra in world cricket. So he can create a lot of problems for a team like the Dutch.
Second game as well, match 10. Again, the importance of the matches in this group. It's Namibia, who are 1-1, sitting second in the group. The top two go through versus the UAE, who are 0-2. But if they win, they're not out of it. They've only ever met once before. And we've got our man, Mayapan, back, the hat-trick taker. So this group could well come down to net run rate, which both these sides will know at this point. So, again, well worth a look. I'm tipping Sri Lanka as well. I'm with you on there. But I reckon if the Namibians can get their strike power up the top of the order and not bury them at 6 and 7 and 8, I'm tipping Namibia in this one.
Well, I'm going to go the other way, Howie. I'm actually going to go the UAE with spin. I think spin can play a massive part against Namibia, and I think they'll get it done. I think this is going to be another one of those upsets.
And you gave advice to our man Timmy Pringle to go to the Geelong Cup. He went, got a message from him on Insta. They didn't pick the winner of the Cup, but they picked a couple of other winners. So you steered Timmy Pringle, the cold hero, into a couple of winners in G-Town.
Yeah, well, I just think you have those special moments in your career when everything you touch has turned to gold. And Timmy Pringle's having one of those moments at the moment. And I could just imagine him walking through the betting ring at Geelong Cup, just the party in the sea as he walks up and everyone behind him. Look, to me, it's like a beer ad where everyone's waiting to see what he goes on, what horse. So, mate, this legend of Timmy Pringle is growing and growing.
And we're all over on Willow. We're going to take him all the way to the final at the MCG. Well done, Hadji. I'll speak to you tomorrow morning. This has been Willow Talk. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another full wrap, reviews, highlights and news of the world of cricket.